Welcome to UBI Unplugged, breaking down the future of income.
Glad to be here. Ready to dive in.
I'm here, though still unconvinced on this whole UBI thing. Let's see what we can do about that.
Cautiously optimistic as always. Looking forward to a productive discussion on the realities of UBI.
Alright, let's get right into it. There's been a lot in the news lately that seems relevant to our ongoing discussion about UBI. From tariff rollbacks to immigration enforcement, it feels like the economic and social landscape is constantly shifting. Any initial thoughts?
Absolutely. What's been striking to me is the growing sense of disillusionment. I've been reading about a lot of voters, even some who initially supported certain policies aimed at boosting the economy, who are now feeling left behind. They feel like the promises haven't materialized, and it's breeding frustration. And I think that's a crucial sign that we need more direct and reliable economic support for individuals.
Okay, but isn't that always the case? Politicians promise the moon, and then reality hits. I don't see how that automatically...
Well, I think Jesus has a point, Otto. It's not just about unmet expectations, it's about a potential breaking point. When people feel genuinely betrayed by the system, it creates instability. But I'm also not entirely convinced that UBI is the immediate solution to that frustration. We need to understand why these promises aren't being kept. Is it a lack of political will? Are the policies fundamentally flawed? Or is it something else entirely?
I think it's a combination of all those factors, Sarah. But the dysfunction in our political system is certainly a major contributor. Even with the best intentions, economic policies can be undermined by political gridlock or outright sabotage. And that's where I think UBI can be a game changer. It's a direct payment to individuals, bypassing some of the limitations of a broken political system.
But bypassing the system entirely? That sounds, well, chaotic. Who decides how much? How is it funded? What happens when the economy hits a downturn? The political system exists, for better or worse, to handle these kinds of decisions. You can't just wish it away.
I'm not suggesting we wish it away, Otto. I'm saying UBI offers a more resilient foundation, an economic bedrock that isn't as susceptible to political winds. As for the how, there are multiple models. We could fund it through a combination of taxes, maybe a dedicated tax on automation, or even a restructuring of existing social welfare programs. The amount needs to be enough to cover basic needs, and it would need to be indexed to inflation to maintain its value over time.
That's where the devil is in the details, isn't it? The funding mechanism is crucial, and it needs to be sustainable. I'm also concerned about the potential for unintended consequences. Could UBI disincentivize work, especially in low-wage sectors? Could it lead to inflation if not managed properly? These are real challenges we need to address.
Exactly. You can't just throw money at the problem and hope it fixes itself. People need incentives to work, to contribute to society. Giving everyone a handout, even if it's just enough to survive, feels like a recipe for disaster.
I disagree that it's just a handout, Otto. It's an investment in human potential. Studies have shown that UBI can actually increase entrepreneurship and innovation. When people have a basic level of security, they're more willing to take risks, to pursue education, to start businesses. It unleashes human creativity.
There is some data supporting that, but it's still early days. We need more rigorous research, especially on large-scale implementations, and we need to consider the potential for different effects in different communities. What works in one city might not work in another.
That's true, and that's why a pilot program in Philadelphia struck me. Considering the economic struggles there, especially within the Black community, a pilot UBI program could provide valuable insights. It could be a way to directly address the systemic issues that are contributing to economic disparity.
Philadelphia, huh? I'd be interested to see the numbers on that. Seems like a good test case. But I'm still worried about the cost. Where's that money coming from?
Philadelphia also has a complicated history with social programs, so it would need to be carefully designed to avoid replicating past failures. And we'd need to address potential conflicts with existing safety nets. How would UBI interact with programs like SNAP or Medicaid?
Ideally, UBI would streamline and simplify the social safety net, replacing some of the more bureaucratic and inefficient programs. It could be a more dignified and effective way to provide support. And yes, the cost is a major consideration, but we need to weigh that against the cost of not addressing economic inequality, the cost of poverty, crime, and social unrest.
See, that's where you lose me. You're assuming that poverty is the root cause of all those problems. People make choices. Some choices lead to poverty. Others lead to success. It's not always about a lack of money.
It's not always about money, but it's often about money, Otto, and access to opportunity. When people are struggling to survive, they don't have the same opportunities as those who are financially secure. UBI levels the playing field, giving everyone a chance to thrive.
I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. Personal responsibility matters, but so do systemic factors. And those systemic factors are often deeply entrenched, making it difficult for people to escape poverty, no matter how hard they work. UBI could be a tool for addressing those systemic issues, but it's not a magic bullet. It needs to be part of a broader strategy that includes education, job training, and affordable healthcare.
Okay, so it's not the solution, it's a solution. I can maybe get on board with that idea a little more. Still skeptical though.
Absolutely. It's one tool in the toolbox, but I think it's a particularly powerful tool, especially in light of some of the concerning trends we're seeing. I'm talking about things like increased immigration enforcement and the potential erosion of civil liberties.
Wait, how does immigration enforcement relate to UBI?
Think about the economic impact of these raids on communities. When people are afraid of being detained or deported, they're less likely to participate in the economy. They might be afraid to go to work, to open a bank account, to access social services. This creates a climate of fear and instability that hurts everyone.
That's a valid point. Aggressive immigration enforcement can have a chilling effect on local economies, harming small businesses and impacting broader economic development. And it disproportionately affects vulnerable communities, particularly communities of color.
Okay, I see where you're going with that. So UBI could provide a safety net for these communities, mitigating some of the fear and instability caused by these raids.
Exactly. It's a way to provide economic security regardless of immigration status. It sends a message that everyone is valued and that everyone deserves a basic level of dignity.
But how would that work in practice? Would UBI be available to undocumented immigrants? That's a politically charged question, and it could create a lot of controversy.
Yeah, I can already see the headlines. Taxpayer money going to illegal immigrants. It would be a PR nightmare.
It's a complex issue, no doubt, but we need to consider the moral and economic implications of excluding undocumented immigrants from a UBI program. They are often essential workers, contributing to the economy in vital ways. And denying them basic economic security creates a shadow economy that is ripe for exploitation.
Perhaps a phased approach could be a compromise. Start with a pilot program that includes documented residents and then gradually expand eligibility as data becomes available and public support grows. That way, it would be possible to avoid shocking the system with a sudden change.
Baby steps, huh? I suppose that's the only way anything gets done these days. Still feels like we're just papering over the cracks, though. Why not focus on fixing the immigration system itself, instead of creating a whole new program to deal with the consequences of a broken system?
Fixing the immigration system is a long and difficult process, Otto. And even if we were to achieve comprehensive immigration reform, there would still be a need for economic security for all. UBI addresses a more fundamental issue, the need to ensure that everyone has access to a basic standard of living, regardless of their circumstances.
Yes, and we need to be realistic about the challenges involved in immigration reform. It's a deeply polarized issue, and progress is often slow and incremental. In the meantime, people are suffering. UBI could provide immediate relief while we work towards longer-term solutions.
Exactly. Think about the reports coming out of Tennessee with people being arrested on roads simply for immigration violations. The fear and instability that creates is very destructive.
Okay, but the Highway Patrol claims these stops are justified by driver behavior. Broken taillights, that sort of thing.
That's what they're saying, but we need to be skeptical. There's a real risk of racial profiling and disproportionate targeting of immigrant communities. We need more transparency and accountability.
Absolutely. And even if the stops are technically legal, the impact on the community is devastating. People are afraid to drive, afraid to go to work, afraid to live their lives. UBI could provide a buffer against that fear, giving people the economic security they need to weather these storms.
So you're saying UBI is like insurance against bad policy?
In a way, yes, it's a safety net that catches people when the system fails them. It's a way to ensure that everyone has access to a basic level of dignity, regardless of the political climate or the economic conditions.
It's also important to remember that UBI is not a replacement for good governance. We still need to hold our elected officials accountable to demand transparency and fairness and to work towards a more just and equitable society. UBI is just one tool in the fight for a better future.
All right. I'm starting to see the potential benefits a little more clearly. Still not convinced it's a foolproof solution, but I'm willing to keep an open mind.
That's all I ask, Otto. And I think the more we examine the real world challenges people are facing, the more compelling the case for UBI becomes. The frustration, the fear, the disillusionment, these are all signs that the current system is not working for everyone. UBI offers a way forward, a way to build a more just and prosperous society for all.
Yes, but let's not forget the importance of careful planning and implementation. We need to learn from past mistakes, to address potential unintended consequences, and to ensure that UBI is designed in a way that promotes economic opportunity and social equity. It's a complex challenge, but it's one that's worth pursuing.
Complexity is an understatement. Let's be honest about how enormous this would be. We're basically talking about a fundamental change to how society functions.
And sometimes fundamental change is what's needed when the old ways aren't serving us anymore.
Which means we need to be prepared for the inevitable pushback, the political opposition, the logistical hurdles. We need a robust plan for addressing all of these challenges and a clear vision for the future we want to create.
All right. Enough with the idealism. What about the practical stuff? How do we actually get this done? I mean, Congress can't even agree on what day it is half the time.
That's precisely why we need to explore alternative pathways, Otto. Grassroots movements, state-level initiatives, even private funding. We can't rely solely on Congress to lead the way.
Yes, and we need to build a broad coalition of support, bringing together people from different backgrounds and political persuasions. This is not a partisan issue. It's about creating a more just and equitable society for all.
Easier said than done. But I guess that's the challenge, right? Trying to build a better future, even when the present looks pretty bleak.
Exactly. And I believe that UBI can be a powerful tool for building that future. It's a way to empower individuals, to strengthen communities, and to create a more resilient and prosperous society for all.
And it's a conversation that needs to continue. We need to keep exploring the possibilities, addressing the challenges, and working together to create a future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
A future where I don't have to worry about the robots taking my job.
Precisely. A future where technology empowers us all instead of leaving some behind.
All right, let's leave it there. Plenty to think about and plenty more to discuss next time.
Great discussion, everyone. Thanks for joining us on UBI Unplugged.